When I got home from working on my property the other day, this tractor would not start. I have a click, just when you turn the key on it clicks, but then I have a dead key after that. I'm sure it's the solenoid not kicking in, not necessarily the starter. But they come as a set. I mean, they come together. Before I go spending a lot of money on a new starter, I'm going to check 3 switches that I know of that this tractor has that have to be made up before it'll start. If there's a problem with any one of those switches, then the symptom is pretty much the same as what I'm having right now. It'll click on and then they just have a dead key. You have 3 different switches on this thing that have to be made up. If they're not working right, this thing will not start. So you press the pedal, and this particular switch has to be made up. To test it, take this loose, put your tester, just a little cheap tester. I've got it set on the lowest setting for ohms, or you can set it at this other, I think it's for continuity. But that's what you're checking, to check continuity, to see if the circuit is closed. When you press the pedal, you should get zeros, and when you let off the pedal, you should just get a open line. 2 more switches that have to be made up are these behind the PTO switch. When PTO is turned off, the switches are made up. If they're not, then it's not likely going to start. But it's telling you that your PTO is on. It doesn't want to start. The switches are in the back behind it, so disconnect each one of those connectors and test each one individually. So it's actually 2 switches. They have to be made up. Alright, before you test the switch, you need to test the tester. Make sure it's working properly. So when they're not connected, you have an open circuit. When they touch, you have a closed circuit. So when the switch is made up, you'll have a closed circuit. When the switch is off, it'll be like that. So that switch is on right now, so it's making contact. You have continuity. You turn the switch off. When you engage the PTO, the switch should be off. So with the switch off, your line is open, your circuit is open. See that? Turn it back on. The circuit is closed. So when the switch is on, that means the PTO is off. When the PTO is on, the switches are off. If the PTO is turned off and the switches are made up, this tractor will start. That's how you test that switch. That switch is good. I also tested the other one, it's fine. The other switch is the neutral switch. It's down underneath near your breaker on the 2501. Other tractors would be different. But with a hydrostatic, you have to be in neutral before it'll start. So if you press your pedal one way or the other, forward or reverse, it will come off that switch and it won't start. So you have to be in neutral. And on this particular tractor, that switch is really easy to get out. You just loosen this one bolt or take this one bolt out. The switch comes right out and it's accessible. So when I tested the voltage to the starter, it was fine too. It was getting voltage. It was getting 12.4 volts. So that led me to believe that it's got to be the solenoid not kicking the starter in. Unfortunately, these come as a pair. The solenoid is made to or mounted to the starter, so you don't just change out a solenoid. This is the old one, and I've already put the new one in, except for the bolt in the back. Now this is the easiest starter I've ever had to change out, except for the bolt in the back. Now it's easy to get to, but getting the lock washer back on is another issue. This thing, the bolts were really tight when I went to take it off, so I don't know what the torque spec is. I guess I could probably go in there and look in the book, but I'm going to just tighten it up as much as I can. like I said, the hardest thing to do was get the lock washer on the back. Hardest thing to do was get the lock washer put on the top bolt, which is in the back here. So this is a stud back here that sticks out, and this is a bolt. This is the bolt that you put in. So you can take this out and it'll still be hanging by the top stud. But it also makes it difficult for that washer. The only way I could get that washer back on is to remove the lead to the temperature sensor. I think that's temperature sensor. Just took that wire loose and pulled this out of the way, and I could get my fingers in there enough to get the washer back on. So when removing this little clip, I had to push in right in this area. It's made where you could just push it in with your finger, but it doesn't work, so I had to push it in with a screwdriver. Yeah, that's tight enough for that. Just cover that back up. Just put that little boot back over the top of it. Should be good. Well, I got everything hooked up, and I turned the key and I've got nothing. I got a dead key. It doesn't even click. So I need to check and see if I got my battery hooked up. I've lost ground or something. Well, I had the battery cable hooked up, so I went ahead and took this bolt loose and cleaned that up. Make sure I'm getting good ground, or figure out what's going on. Well, I'm getting almost 13 volts to the starter itself. But I have nothing at the switch, so that tells me this might have come loose in there, or something. I didn't get something I didn't get hooked up right. It's my fault. Another interesting note: you have two leads coming off the starter. When I took this apart, that first one slipped back inside. I didn't even see it. When I hooked it back up, I didn't have any power at all to the starter switch. So I had to trace that down. Finally, I realized I took this off, and there's that. I dug around inside that boot, and there's the other lead. That supplies power to the switch. The main one supplies power to the starter, and then that one supplies power to the switch. So live and learn. Awesome. I got my tractor back. So, if this video helped you in any way, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.